welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name is Thomas. Paul's joined me today, and we're going to be previewing the game against Manchester City on New Year's Day. We were just mentioning this just before. We're not going to dwell on the result against Newcastle too much as I'd love to. It was a brilliant away win. How did you feel after that result, Paul? Were you happy with that one?
Delighted, ecstatic, over the moon. The only away that I did last season was Newcastle, and it went great for an hour, and then it all went down the toilet, didn't it? So I've been looking forward to playing Newcastle again ever since. I wanted to win and right that wrong and shove it back down the throats, and we got it done. So other than you and maybe Jordan Pickford, I'd say I'm probably one of the happiest Evertonians going.
Yeah, definitely. I was really happy with it. Yeah, obviously the atmosphere was great. I thought the performance overall was good, and there's nothing better than beating Newcastle. So just going on from that, it is an away win. It was Carlo Ancelotti's second game. We could say he's got a maximum record away from home. Do you think this is going to signal kind of a change in our look away from home? Because obviously City is an away game. I think we got 5 points in the first half of the season with Marco Silva away from home, which is obviously disastrous. How much of an impact do you think that can? Because it was a bit of a game where it wasn't straightforward. We did have to hold on at times. We had to defend well. We had to battle for it a bit. We know Andy Carroll was causing Keane problems for what seemed like 3-4 hours. It was ridiculous. I never seemed to be ending those long balls against Andy Carroll. So overall, what effect do you think that away game will have on our future away games?
Hopefully the away form picks up, because it's been terrible for as long as I can remember now, a good few years. But I'm a big believer in teams on the pitch reflect the manager on the sidelines, and Ancelotti's a manager who's been there, done that, got the T-shirt, won the trophy loads of times. There's no ground, I think, in club football that Carlo Ancelotti is frightened of going to. He's just that type of guy, isn't he? Like, he's not going to be intimidated going to Newcastle. He's not going to be intimidated going to the Etihad that we're going to talk about in a minute. So the away form, I have real big hopes it's going to pick up now, because there's at least 10 teams in this league that we should be spanking home or away. It's that simple. There's 10 teams at least that should not be giving us a game of football, a competitive game of football, most weeks, whether we're at their place or whether we're at Goodison. So hopefully the players get some confidence now, and Carlo's cool-headedness rubs off on them, and they realise, you know what, there's nothing to be scared of playing here. There's no reason to lose focus. Carlo's a cool cookie on the sidelines. We need to be cool as well and just play our game and do our thing. So yeah, I think the away form will really pick up now.
Yeah, I think Carlo Ancelotti's substitutions and his game management were really impressive against Newcastle, I thought, because he brought Delph on, which really calmed the game down, because they were bypassing our midfield pretty much every time with the long ball or the diagonals that they were playing. And I thought our game management was a lot more impressive than it has been. Obviously, we had the capitulation against Brighton. We had the capitulation against Leicester. We've had God knows how many more, not even this season, but the past few seasons. And I think we managed the game a lot better. The pedigree of the manager really did show. I think there's quite a funny clip actually when Steve Bruce goes to shake Carlo Ancelotti's hand, and Ancelotti clearly doesn't have a clue who he is. He just kind of looks at him like, yeah, sure, I'll shake your hand, mate. But the pedigree of the manager, the organisation is clear to see. The tactic changing from, like the 4-4-2 where we defend to kind of the 3-5-2 when we're attacking, or the whatever it is. There's a lot more fluidity when we're going forwards. We know what we're doing defensively. Everyone's kind of doing their role. As long as Michael Keane starts to head a football, we'll be a lot better. So I think the tactics that we've been using have really been kind of shown an improvement already. We weren't sure. Obviously, he had 3 days before the Burnley game, and I don't know, he's been in now just over a week before this game. But it's clear to see whatever he's doing in training's already working. The players know where they're meant to be playing, and I was really impressed overall with our away performance. In terms of the lineup, in terms of the personnel in those positions, the tactics that we're using, kind of what are you a fan of? Sorry, and then more, where do you think we could improve? Because I'll just start here. I think playing Sidibe on that kind of right wing role when we were attacking was really impressive when we played Burnley. Obviously, Theo Walcott kind of started out there against Newcastle, and he definitely didn't offer the same kind of impact going forwards, and obviously he eventually came off, and then we allowed Sidibe further forwards. I've been really impressed with that one, but I think Sidibe is probably one of the only players who can play on that kind of right wing back kind of role. obviously Coleman used to be good at it, but now he's lost his legs a bit. Sidibe has the athleticism and the ability going forwards to play. I've been really impressed with that. So what do you like, and what would you potentially change going into the City game?
I really like the 4-4-2, and to be fair, it was Vegas who first started doing it, wasn't it? And Ancelotti sort of carried it on. I really like Calvert-Lewin having someone up there alongside him, helping him out, because for ages now, and I've been one of them. People have got on Calvert-Lewin's back saying he doesn't score enough. Okay, he does all the hard work, he wins all the headers, but he's never in the right area. It's hard to be in the right area when you're trying to do 3 or 4 different jobs before you even get a chance to put yourself in those areas, isn't it? So having someone alongside him, whether it's Moise Kean or Richarlison, gives him a bit more. It frees him up, basically. It gives him a bit more time to just concentrate on being a striker and not so much a link man. Just where he can think to himself, right, I don't have to drop deep and hold the ball up here as much. I don't have to be winning all these headers. I don't have to be trying to drag 2 centre halves out of position or stretch the midfield. I could just get in the box and do what strikers do and put myself in the right areas. I don't have to focus so much on making other people's jobs easier for them. I could just do my own thing. So, yeah, gone all around the houses. But I like the 4-4-2. I don't think we'll go with 4-4-2 against City, because we're going to need to get on the ball, and you're not going to get much of the ball in midfield if you've only got 2 central midfielders, I don't think, against them. But as you mentioned, Sidibe, I think pushing him further forward was very clever by Ancelotti. I don't think when he saw that coming at all, or had given that idea much thought. If you'd have said Marco Silva's going to play Sidibe as like a right attacking winger, further forward, I think people would have gone, oh, well, okay, we'll give that a try, but I don't know why he's doing that. Whereas Ancelotti's tried it, and people were like, oh, okay, then. People were a bit more receptive to the idea. That's what I'm saying. I don't think towards the end people were really in the mood for Marco Silva rolling the dice on many things, whereas Ancelotti's the new manager. He's got a lot of goodwill, and people are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt when he makes these little tactical change around. So, yep, Sidibe is fair, has shown that he can play further forward when he needs to. Another thing I really like about him is I like how he can recognise when the game is changing. We just haven't had many managers who are proactive in the last few years. They've always been reactive. Silva couldn't manage a game, in-game management. I mean, couldn't alter the game and swing it back in Everton's favour to save his life. Martinez was the same. Koeman had his moments. Koeman would change things up now and then, but sometimes he'd overchange it. He'd make these weird substitutions, or these weird tactical tweaks, like, do you remember him putting Calvert-Lewin at right wing back? Things like that. Yeah. You just think, what's the idea behind that? Whereas Ancelotti's just keeping it calm. He saw Newcastle were pushing on and trying to hit us and get a second, and he thought, right, we need to get on the ball here. We need to settle this down. We need to kill their momentum dead. So he just threw on an old pro like Delph, who knows what he's doing, isn't going to lose the ball cheaply, isn't going to make any rash decisions. Just get him in the centre of the pitch and just calm everything down. And I thought it was a basic sub, but it was a very clever sub, and a sub that, as I said before, the likes of Silva wouldn't have ever dreamed of making. So Ancelotti's, as I said earlier on, he's been there so many times. He's done it all. He's so experienced that I'm really, really pleased that we've got someone in that position where if something's getting away from us, he knows how to change the game around. The famous example of it is, do you remember back in the Champions League when Real played Atletico, when he was in charge, and Real were behind in the game for about 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And he didn't look phased at all. He didn't flap once. He just looked like the whole situation was completely under control, and he never, ever lost faith that his team were going to find the breakthrough. And I really love that about a manager. I like it when a manager just instills this calmness on everybody. I think it's so important, is basically what I'm trying to say. Ancelotti's so unflappable that it makes me feel better watching as a fan, thinking, right, I know we're having a shaky few minutes, but we'll be okay. If Carlo thinks we'll be okay, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, we definitely had that kind of shaky kind of 10, 15 minutes towards the end of the first half against Newcastle where Almiron hit the post and then Andy Carroll scored an offside goal. That was a bit nervy, but you kind of trusted we were defending well when we kind of had to sit deeper. It was all right for most of it. Obviously, the long ball to Andy Carroll did cause a few problems quite often. Actually, to be fair, Michael Keane looked a bit afraid of him at times. But kind of moving on from Newcastle on to Manchester City, obviously, the last 5 games in the league, 3 wins and 2 losses. Those 2 losses come the 2-1 loss against United at home, which was a very disappointing result for them. United were probably just the better team for most of the game, and then the 3-2 loss versus Wolves away, which was kind of just an end of game capitulation. There was 2 goals in like the last 5 minutes, kind of individual errors, and we talk about individual errors from City more in the more this season. The past 2 seasons, it seemed like they didn't seem to have any weaknesses. They were strong all over the pitch. There was the 100+ point season. There was last season where they had to battle Liverpool constantly. It's clear now that they do have weaknesses on the pitch that allows teams to kind of break them down, which hasn't been really the case for a few years now. Where do you see City's kind of main weaknesses that we could exploit with the personnel that we have?
I think their back line is very, very flaky, isn't it? We've seen it this season, and I think the biggest change in City is this season compared to the 2 seasons previous where they dominated. I think they're a team that's just absolutely worn out. A team that's can't give any more than what they've already given. They've all hit their ceilings. I know they've been unlucky with injuries and things like that, but they look every bit a team that is just completely and utterly mentally fatigued. Um, the league's gone as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush. Liverpool have got the league, and they're going to have basically a 4 or 5 month victory parade. And City know that. The rest of the world knows that. So this sort of, I'm trying to think what the right word is. I wouldn't say that they've stopped trying so much, but it must be very, very hard when you're a City player, when you know that it's slipped away, and they're not going to go full pelt. Or I don't think now, because they know it's not really going to make any difference. Now, obviously, they've got pride. The professional sportsmen, they want to finish as closely behind Liverpool as they can. But last season and the season before that, it kind of felt like City had this sort of this obsession with not losing type thing, like something Guardiola's instilled in them, and all the best managers, I think, instill in teams. It's like we can't possibly lose. It's like our lives depend on this game, even when it's just a run-of-the-mill game against mid-table opposition. It's like this idea was drilled into them that if we lose this, it is the end of everything. Whereas that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. If they lose now, then they look upset, they look down, but it looks like they just like, well, it's one of them, isn't it? And that just goes back to this idea of they're a team that just can't maintain or keep up that sort of intensity that they had previously, which I think will benefit Everton. I think, as I said, their defence is very, very flaky. Laporte's by a mile their best defender. He's going to be out all season. Company's gone. Stones is injured. Otamendi's injured, I think. With Calvert-Lewin and the form he's in, and the type of player he is, where he's going to make defenders work hard, isn't he? He's going to make them jump for every header. He's going to stretch them all around the pitch. You've got Richarlison's pace and trickery. I think we can really get at them, and I think we can really score goals against them. I'll be very, very disappointed if we don't score against them. Honestly, even if it's a 0-0 draw, I'd be unhappy with that, because I think pretty much every team in this league is capable of scoring against City now the way they are. So I'm quietly confident that we're going to do the business in this game. I really am, because one other point that I'll just raise quickly is the last few times we played City over the years, the fans haven't been as up for it as much for obvious reasons, because we know it will help Liverpool. Whereas, as I said, it makes no difference now. Liverpool have got the league in the back pocket, so it doesn't matter if Everton beat City. City are not going to catch them anyway. So I think all the fans will be right up for this now. And it will be the same if we play City in a cup. Fans won't even think about Liverpool. It's like, right, that's done. Doesn't matter. We've got no reason to not want to win this game. Let's just get at them 100%. And when you get at City 100%, they are very beatable, as we've seen the last few months, basically. So I really think Everton can go into this game and aim to win it. I really can. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of touch on what you said there about like the mentality, the attitude. They really did used to have that kind of never say die attitude. They were the ones scoring the last minute goals that we see Liverpool seem to do every week. But looking at the Wolves game specifically, the way they kind of fell apart towards the end of the game, it was an individual error from Benjamin Mendy, which you probably wouldn't have seen recently in the past 2 seasons. And then the last goal that Doherty scored, I mean, their defence was all over the place. Otamendi was diving in. There was players, the midfields weren't coming back to press. It was the defence on their own, which it's surprising to see from a Pep Guardiola side. But I get what you mean completely. I think this is definitely a game where we're going into it think we could get a result out of this. If not a win, then potentially a draw. They do have weaknesses to exploit, and I think Ancelotti will know that. I think maybe, and obviously I don't want to dwell on Marco Silva too much here, but I think if we still have Marco Silva in charge, we'd be going into this game thinking this is still Manchester City. With Ancelotti, you know that he knows where their weaknesses are going to be. You can tell he's clued up on sides. The weaknesses that were exploited against Newcastle was the pace of the centre-backs. Like our second goal, Richarlison just absolutely ghosted Lejeune. I mean, I think it was Lejeune had only played like 2 games in 6 months, and all of a sudden he's done it again in like days or something. I think the weaknesses shown by their defence shows that Ancelotti knows where the weaknesses are going to be in Manchester City's team, and I think even if we can't see them, I'm confident that we'll be able to exploit the weaknesses. I think the mentality is definitely going to be one kind of pushing, which we definitely saw against Newcastle, kind of the pressure towards the end of the game, which sometimes we have tailed off, but the press kind of stayed going. I mean, there was the last minute run from like Mason Holgate at left back. He plays where he wants. He was run down the wing. He won a corner. It was great. Richarlison then won a corner as well. It was things like that. It's the attitude to keep going until the 90th minute, which I've been really impressed with, especially in the Newcastle game. I was going to ask you how confident you overall, but you pretty much answered that question. I think we're both fairly confident of at least a draw going into this. We think there'll be goals. City do have a weak defence, but obviously we all know how good their attack is. No matter how good your defence is, you always fancy City to score against you. You've got Raheem Sterling, De Bruyne, who can find the killer pass. They're a brilliant side, still going forwards, but it's definitely the defence we have to exploit. More specifically, any score predictions, any goal scorers?
I'm going to go for a 2-2. Because, as I said, I can see us scoring because I think they are very vulnerable and we've got players, the type of players who can really hurt them. I hope Richarlison plays on the right and Calvert-Lewin plays. Now, it's been a quick turnaround, hasn't it? They've played a lot of games in the last week and a half or so, but they're young, aren't they? They seem like they're very fit lads type thing, like they keep themselves in great nick. So hopefully they'll have enough energy to go again. And that Mendy on the left, at the left back for them, I don't rate him at all. Even before what he did against Wolves, I just think he's a potential weak link. As you mentioned, City, no matter what their problems are, they've still got players like De Bruyne, Sterling, Aguero, who could just pull a goal out of nowhere. I don't think... Has any team kept a clean sheet against City this season? I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Not looking come to my mind, no, because I think Liverpool conceded 1 against them, didn't they? So other than that, I can't think of any.
Yeah. So, I think hoping for a clean sheet against City is asking for a bit much. They will score, but I think we'll score as well. I'm going to go for a 2-2, and it'll be a game where it won't be a game where we're hanging on for long periods. I think this will be a game where we're really going toe-to-toe with them for the majority of it. Maybe it might get a bit frantic in the final few minutes when City just go hell for leather at us because they know they have to. But I think this will be a game where Everton will come away with a solid point and confidence will go up, thinking, right, we've just give the reigning champions a bloody good fight there and we gave as good as we got. I'll go for a 2-2 and Everton's goal scorers will be Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Again, if he starts, hopefully he's fit enough to start again. And I'll also go with Bernard. I think Bernard will come back. And he's only got 1 this season, hasn't he? Against, forget who it was now. It was the goal, wasn't it? Who?
West Ham.
I fancy Bernard in that number 10 slot again, hopefully. So I'll go for Calvert-Lewin and Bernard in a really fiery and a really hard-fought 2-2.
Yeah, it's definitely. I can see us definitely getting a point. I'm not going to predict like specific scores, but kind of just run off. I think this game's going to be an interesting one because I think even if we go to City and lose here, I think the fans will not really mind that much because obviously it was a brilliant win it was a win we should have got against Newcastle, but obviously we know how strong they are at home. We were only the second team to beat them at home this season, so that was a brilliant away win. And then a very solid performance against Burnley. And obviously, I'm not sure how many shots specifically we've had. It's like 47 or something, I want to say, in the past 2 games, which is a very impressive start. It's the most out of any teams in the past 2 games. So I think even if we go to City and lose, I think the fans will be less bothered, because I think of the brilliant performances. And obviously, we know he hasn't actually had that much time to kind of turn the team around. I think we'll still get a point anyway. I think there will be goals, as you said. I think it will be a score draw. I'm hoping Calvert-Lewin stays in the team, because he's absolutely on fire at the moment. His work rate against Newcastle was ridiculously impressive. Going up against centre-backs who definitely aren't afraid to head the ball, but he was getting at them. He was showing his strength as usual. So I can see a score draw, and let's hope for a good result anyway. So thank you very much for watching, and be sure to check out Paul's social media just below his face. I never get this right, but it's one of these sides. Be sure to check out all our social medias below, and let's hope for a good result. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.